Hi guys, I'm Autumn from itsalwaysautumn.com, and today I'm going to show you how to create a tag like this one here using Adobe Photoshop Elements 15. We are working in expert mode of Photoshop Elements to create something like this. We'll begin by going under File, New, Blank File. When I'm creating a tag, I try to think of what the finished size I want it to be is and enter those dimensions here. So I'm thinking of something that's going to be about 3 inches wide by 3 inches high. I can change these dimensions later. It's pretty easy to do so it doesn't have to be exact. The resolution for anything that you'd like to print out should be 300. And then your color mode can be RGB color and your background contents can be white. So this is our background for our tag. I know I want it to be a circular tag, so I'm going to start by just drawing a circle shape. Over here at the left, under Draw, we can click the Shape tool. It's usually going to have a rectangle there, but once you click it, then you can choose whichever shape you would like to draw, including custom shapes. And there's a bunch of different menus here to get all sorts of different shapes. I just want to draw a circle though, so I'm going to choose ellipse, sorry about that. And then I'm going to make sure that circle is chosen here. To draw it, I just click and drag, and that draws a circle. Anytime after I draw something, I hit V, and that gets my Move tool back. That means I can grab this circle and move it around, or I can click one of the corners and then click it again and drag it smaller or bigger to change the size. You're also going to see as I start adding things onto this file that different layers show up in this layers palette over here on the right. You're going to see how this works as we go along. Okay, so I have a circle here that's black. I don't think I want it plain black. This is for Mother's Day, so I want it to be purple. So what I'm going to do is come over here under Color and click this, and that brings up a color picker box that allows me to click around and choose any sort of color I want. Or if I know the code, I can just enter that there to get a very specific color. Once I've chosen a color, I can hit K or come over here and just click on this paint bucket and click it, and it'll fill that shape with color. Now, when you're using the paint bucket tool, pay attention to which layer you have selected over here in the layers palette, because that's the layer that will get filled with paint. Okay, so I like the purple look, but I want to take this one step further. I actually want to make it look like this circle was painted, maybe with watercolors. So my next step is to open a watercolor background that I downloaded from the internet. So I want this watercolor texture and color to fill up this circle. It's really easy to do. I just drag this file over. I make sure in my layers palette that it's sitting right above the shape, and then hover between the layer and the shape and hold down the Alt Option key and click. What that does is it clips this whole layer here into the shape, or it makes the shape, the circle, a window to allow us to see the layer above it. So that whole file that I brought over is still here, and I can click and drag to move it around so that it shows whatever I want. I can even click and drag on the corner to make it smaller or bigger. But all I see of it is what shows through the window of that circle. Okay, that looks a little bit more interesting, so I like that. But remember, I want it to be purple, so let's change the color. We're going to hit Command U to get our hue saturation box. And we can play around with these sliders to give a lot of different looks to our color, or to even change it to a completely different color. So let's just change it to purple. Fabulous. Okay, time to add some text. We hit T to get our type tool. And anytime you choose a new tool, down at the bottom, you're going to see all of the options for that tool. So we can choose from all of the fonts that are on our computer. We can choose color here. If we click the little rainbow circle, it'll bring up that color picker box. And so we can, choose what color we want our text to be. I'm going to just stick with white. We can change the size. Or do some other things. So I'm just going to click down and type the first word, which is happy. Then I click the green check mark, hit T to get my type tool again, and type the next word. Mothers, and do it again to type the last word. The reason that I didn't just type all of these words hitting return in between each one is because I want them to be on separate layers, which you can see they are over here in the layers palette, because that allows me to edit each one individually, to move them around, to change the size without changing all three words at the same time. So anytime you want to change the font or the color of a word, you'll hit T to use your type tool. I'm just going to change this font. But anytime you want to change the position of the type on your document or just change the size of it, you can use your move tool, which you get by hitting V. Okay, I want to move that happy up a little bit, but when I try to click on it, I'm just selecting the word mothers because it's above happy in the layers palette. So it's hard for me to grab it just by trying to click on it over here. Anytime you have that problem, you can just select your layer that you want to move in the layers palette by clicking on it, and then hold down the command key. And that makes you hold on to that layer. So it doesn't matter where you click, you're still going to be able to grab it. Okay, this is starting to look really pretty. I want to add text in a circle now all the way around here and add a little quote to, just take it up a notch. So I'm going to hit T for my type tool again, and this time I am going to choose this T right here, which is the text on a shape tool. Again, we can decide what sort of shape we want to draw. I'm going to stick with an ellipse, and then I can just draw it here, and that gives me a general shape. It doesn't matter that it's not in the exact right place right now. And then I can hover over that shape until I get this little icon and then click. At that point, I can start typing. Before I start typing, I'm going to choose a different font and a different color. Everything I am or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, hit the green check mark, and then I can start moving this around. I'm holding down the command key to make sure I hold on to this layer. Okay, I actually drew that just exactly the size I wanted it to be, but if I need to make it bigger or smaller, I can just click on a corner, drag it bigger, or drag it smaller. I can also use the arrow keys to nudge it around. Okay, so there's a couple adjustments I want to make. The first thing I want to have happen is that I want this text to fill up the whole circle. And I don't want it to leave this extra spot here. So I'm going to hit T and get my type tool back again. I'm going to add just a little asterisk at the end of the quote so that when we fill up most of this room, our eye will still know, see some separation between where the quote begins and where the quote ends. And then I'm going to drag the entire quote, and I can just change the size down here, change the font size. So right now it's 11.64. Let's try 13. Okay, that's too big because now Lincoln doesn't even fit in. Let's try 12. Okay, that's pretty good. It mostly fills up all the space, but I don't like that there's a little bit too much room. So how about 12.1, 12.2? That does it. Okay, perfectly spaced. The last adjustment I want to make to this circular text is make sure that the beginning of the quote is up here instead of down here at the bottom. So I just click once on a corner and then hover near the corner to get this bent arrow, this curved arrow, and then I can click and drag to swing it around so that that first word, everything, starts just where I want it to. Okay, this is looking really nice. The last thing I want to do is have a circle that outlines the entire thing, a circle that goes all the way around outside the text here. So the way to do that is to grab our marquee tool, and down here you'll choose elliptical marquee as opposed to the rectangular one. And we have it set at a fixed ratio 1:1. That just means it's going to draw an exact circle instead of an oval. And then I'm just going to click and drag to again draw a circle that I think is roughly the right size. It doesn't matter if it's in the right place yet, just as long, and the size doesn't even matter that much. Just try to get it close to the right size. One thing we do need to make sure we do once we've drawn this selection is put it on its own layer. So right here is the button for creating a new layer, and we'll click that. Now when we outline it, the outline's going to come on this layer, which means we can edit it and move it around. If the outline had been drawn on the background, we can't edit or move things around on our background right now. It has a lock sign on it. Okay, so we have our new layer, and then under Image, we can come to Stroke, Outline Selection. We can choose what color we want the outline to be in and how heavy of an outline we want it to be, and we can click OK. Command D to deselect, and V to get our Move tool, and then the outline is selected, but it's going to be hard to click on it since it's so thin. So I'm going to hold down the Command key, and remember that tells it to hold this selection, and then I can move it around, make it bigger or smaller, and try to get it exactly where I want it. Use the arrow keys too. Okay, this is looking good. The very last thing I'm going to do is make sure that all of my different circles are centered. So over here in the Layers palette, I'll click that outline circle we just drew. I'll hold down the Command key, I'll click the circle of text, and I'll click the circle shape to highlight all three of them at once. Holding the Command key is what allowed me to highlight all three at once. Whenever you have more than one object selected, your Align tools will show up down here. So I can click Center, and that'll align the vertical centers, and I can click Middle, and that'll align the horizontal centers as well. And then I can just use my rulers at the top and the sides and use my arrow buttons to make sure everything's perfectly centered within the document. Okay, I like this and I'm ready to save. So I'm going to go under Save As. I'm going to save one copy of this as a PSD, which is a Photoshop file. Saving it like that means that all of these layers, when I open it up again, all these different layers will still be there, and I can change each layer individually. So say I want to change the background or add in a different quote or change this to Happy Father's Day, I can do that on a PSD file. However, if you want to offer this as a printable, you also want it saved as a JPEG or a PDF file, which is a flattened version that nobody can edit. And the other thing you want to do is, instead of it being on a 3x3 document, you really just want to put it on a normal size piece of paper for your readers. So what we're going to do is just click this bottom layer, not the background, the bottom layer, and then hold Shift and click up at the top layer to select all of them at once. Then we'll go under Layer, Merge Layers. Now the entire tag design is still independent from the background, but it's all in one layer. So it's flattened, and it's going to be much harder. Someone can't just come in and grab the text tool and start changing your text. So we'll open a new blank file, and we'll just have this be normal US paper size. And then we can just click and drag our tag design over onto this full paper-sized file. If it's a tag that you want to have your readers print out a full sheet of, you can hold down the Alt key and click and drag to make duplicates of it. So 6 of these would fit nicely on a normal sheet of paper. And then you could just save this file as a JPEG or a PDF and have that be the file that you would let your readers download. Thanks for watching. Check back because I have lots more videos about Photoshop Elements, and visit me at itsalwaysautumn.com.